Picture the scene. It's March 1962, and a car rolls out of the gates at Crewe with engineers watching it go. This is Rolls-Royce, the company that built the best car in the world. The company whose radiator badge is a shorthand for wealth and influence in every country on Earth. And the car leaving the factory is a Vanden Plas Princess. Not a Rolls-Royce with princess influences. An actual Vanden Plas Princess, the sort of thing a provincial bank manager might order, with a Rolls-Royce engine dropped into the nose and some fiddling done to the brakes and the steering. That car was called Java, and Rolls-Royce spent 2 years trying to turn it into something it could sell. It never sold a single one. There's a version of Rolls-Royce history that goes Silver Ghost, Phantom, Silver Shadow, Phantom again, and everything the company touched turned to gold. Then there's the other history. The projects that got to running prototypes and clay models and press launches and world tours, and then stopped dead. Cars with 9-liter engines. Cars with no steering wheel. Cars built specifically so that nobody could ever own one. These are 10 of them, in order, and the last 3 are still sitting in a warehouse somewhere in West Sussex. Start with the car that opened this video, because the story behind it is stranger than the car. By the early 1960s, Rolls-Royce had a problem. It didn't like admitting. The customers who bought coach-built cars were dying off, and the ones replacing them wanted something smaller and cheaper. Rolls-Royce had nothing smaller and cheaper. Developing one from scratch would have cost more than the company was willing to spend. So, it went shopping. The body shell came from BMC. The engine was Rolls-Royce's own F60, a 4-liter 6 the company had developed in-house. The first running prototype was designated 71B and hit the road in March 1962. And it was little more than a princess with a Rolls-Royce heart, revised brakes, and revised steering. The properly engineered version, 72B, was finished in October that year. By then, the project had already been all but canceled. That car was tested for a little over a month before the plug came out. The engine survived. Rolls-Royce handed the F60 to BMC, where it went into the Vanden Plas 4-liter R and sold under someone else's badge entirely. Rolls-Royce built the engine, somebody else built the car. Java died, and the idea immediately came back wearing a different name. This time, the donor was the Austin 3-liter. The Bentley version was called Bengal, and the Rolls-Royce version, the one almost nobody has heard of, was called Rangoon. Same car, different grille, different chrome, different trim. The engine was that 4-liter 6 again, this time quoted at around 175 horsepower. Styling models were made through 1963 and 1964. No drivable prototype was ever built. What killed it was arithmetic. Rolls-Royce kept revising the passenger compartment to make the car feel less like an Austin, and every revision moved it further from the cheap mass production line that made the whole idea viable in the first place. The more Rolls-Royce made it a Rolls-Royce, the less sense it made. In 1964, somebody finally worked out the car could not be sold at a profit, and it was scrapped. The suspension system did reach the road. It went into the Austin 3-liter. The third attempt was the closest Rolls-Royce ever came to building a proper sports car. BMC had a Pininfarina-designed coupe on the drawing board, intended as a replacement for the Austin Healey 3000. Rolls-Royce looked at it and saw an opportunity. Take that coupe, put Crewe engineering underneath it, and sell it as a Bentley. Internally, it was Alpha. There was talk of a twin-cam version of the F60 engine to power it. It got as far as a quarter-scale model. In 1966, Jaguar merged with BMC, and Jaguar had rather firm opinions about anyone else in the group selling a fast coupe. Somebody briefly floated the idea of putting a Jaguar engine in it. Then the project was canceled outright. We're sitting with that for a moment. Rolls-Royce came within one corporate merger of building a Pininfarina-bodied sports car. The Crewe and BMC partnership had one last idea in it, and it was the oddest of the lot. The plan was a coupe built on a shortened version of the Burma prototype, the saloon project that eventually fed into the thinking behind the Silver Shadow. The twist was in the commercial arrangement. This car would have been built and sold by BMC alone. Rolls-Royce engineering, no Rolls-Royce badge, no Rolls-Royce showroom. It never happened, and the partnership wound down. Rolls-Royce went away and built the Silver Shadow instead. which turned out to be the right decision by a very wide margin. If you're keeping score, that's 4 separate attempts in roughly 6 years to build a Rolls-Royce that ordinary money could buy. 4 failures. Drop a comment telling me whether you think the world would have been better or worse with a cheap Rolls-Royce in it, because Crew clearly could not make up its mind. 32 years later, the name came back. The 1994 Java was shown at Geneva, and it was a serious piece of work. Rolls-Royce's head of design led the styling in collaboration with an outside design house. Underneath sat BMW 5 Series architecture, and in the nose was a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged Cosworth Viv 8 with roots in IndyCar racing. The performance targets were a limited 155 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds. The brief was almost impossible. An elegant Bentley coupe and a genuine 4-seat convertible, both packaged into roughly the footprint of a Mercedes E-Class. It was shelved. But here's the part that makes it a rare car rather than just a concept. 18 Javas were built to order between 1994 and 1996. 6 coupes, 6 convertibles, 6 estates. They went to a single buyer and ended up in the collection of the Sultan of Brunei. The idea underneath it, a smaller and cheaper Bentley aimed at real volume, eventually arrived as the Continental GT. Even the shape of the dashboard carried a cross. BMW took over, moved production to Goodwood, and to mark 100 years of Rolls-Royce, built a car called 100EX. It was a vast convertible with rear hinge doors and a body over 18.5 feet long. And under that bonnet was something Rolls-Royce has never put in a customer car before or since: a 9-liter V16. The Phantom drophead coupe that followed was clearly the 100EX made real. It arrived with a V12. The V16 stayed exactly where it was in a one-off show car, and every so often a Rolls-Royce executive gets asked about it and gives a very polite non-answer. This next one exists because a single customer wanted it to. A Rolls-Royce chassis went to Pininfarina in Italy and came back as a long-nosed 2-seater with almost nothing shared with the car it started as. It was called the Hyperion. It was shown, admired, photographed endlessly, and then it went to its owner. One was made. There was never any plan to make a second. Now the strangest entry on this list, because Rolls-Royce built this one deliberately intending never to sell it. The 102EX was a Phantom with the V12 taken out and replaced by 2 electric motors, making around 390 horsepower, fed by a battery pack weighing over 1,400 pounds. Range was somewhere around 120 miles. A full charge took 8 hours. Rolls-Royce did not put it in a museum. It drove it around the world, put more than 10,000 miles on it, and let roughly 500 existing owners and prospective customers get behind the wheel. This was market research with a chauffeur. The verdict came back, and it was not what the company had hoped. Owners loved the silence and the way the car gathered speed. They could not live with 8-hour charging and a 100-mile range, particularly as most of them lived nowhere near a city. The chief executive ruled out production. There's a nice irony in it. Charles Rolls himself had been enthusiastic about electric cars over a century earlier, calling them noiseless and clean. It took until 2023 and the Spectre for Rolls-Royce to agree with him. If the 102EX was research, the car that came 5 years later was science fiction with a spirit of ecstasy bolted to it. The 103EX was over 19 feet long, 2 seats, fully autonomous, and no steering wheel anywhere in the car, because the entire premise was that the owner would never drive it. The roof lifted, the whole front section opened, and the passengers sat on what was essentially a silk sofa. It was built to answer one question: what does a Rolls-Royce look like in 100 years? Nobody at Goodwood ever pretended this was going into production. It's on this list because it's the purest example of what Rolls-Royce does with an experimental car. Build it once, learn from it, put it away. The last entry never got as far as metal. In May 2021, Rolls-Royce announced a name: Silent Shadow, a deliberate nod to the Silver Shadow, and it was to be the company's first production electric car. Then the name quietly disappeared. When the electric Rolls-Royce actually arrived, it was called Spectre. Somewhere in a filing cabinet, there's a trademark for a car that was announced, named, and then never built at all. Two more deserve a mention here, even though neither qualifies, because both got built and both got shown as experiments, and both then reached production, almost unchanged. The 200EX became the Ghost. The 101EX became the Phantom Coupe, which tells you something about how Rolls-Royce uses the word experimental. Sometimes it means we're thinking about it. Sometimes it means it's already been signed off, and we're seeing how you react. 10 cars, 4 attempts at a cheap Rolls-Royce that all collapsed. A 9-liter V16 nobody was allowed to buy. A coupe killed by a merger. And an electric Phantom built specifically so that 500 rich people could tell the company it was too early. Tell me in the comments which one you'd want in your garage. I'd take the Java estate, and I'd like to know how the Sultan of Brunei is getting on with his. Sources for this video are in the description. If you want more of this, there's a video on the rare cars Jaguar built and never released on screen now. And it's the same story with a different badge.